Good morning, everyone, and thank you so much for joining our webinar today to talk about the 2022 Escalator Awards. My name is Caroline Bowman. I am the project manager for Women as One, and I'm joined today by my colleague, Alexandra McLeod, head of branded programming for Women as One. We're both so pleased to be here today and to tell you more about our 2022 Escalator Awards. Just a quick note, we are recording this session and we will provide you with a link to the recording, which you can share with any of your colleagues or contacts who could not be here with us today. Just move on to our next slide. So during today's session, we're going to review the award categories and the qualifications for each category. Then we'll take a moment to go over the application process step by step and provide some tips and useful information that can make your application stand out. At the end of the program, there will be time for some question and answer. So please type any questions that you have into the chat window, and we will monitor that as we go. So to begin our webinar, I'm going to turn it over to Ali, who's going to talk a little bit about the Escalator Awards background and how they fit into the mission of Women as One.
Thanks, Caroline. Hi, everybody. Good morning or good afternoon, depending where in the world you are. For those of you who are maybe less familiar with Women as One, we just wanted to start today by framing this discussion about the Escalator Awards with what our organizational mission is and kind of where this all started from. So Women as One was created in 2019 and founded by Dr. Roxana Moran and Dr. Marie-Claude Maurice, who are both, as I'm sure most of you know, world recognized leaders in their fields and incredibly amazing women. And as a result of their professional experiences as they've come up through their careers, they really realized that there was a need to promote women and support women in new and creative ways. So that's why Women as One was founded. And our mission is to promote talent in medicine by providing unique professional opportunities to women physicians. And Caroline, you can go to the next slide. So the Escalator Awards are a direct tie-in to that mission. We wanted to find a way to provide financial support to women, but beyond that, to actually provide an opportunity to make connections and to have some visibility where perhaps you might not have otherwise had it. And so with that in mind, the goal of the Escalator Awards is to fortify the pipeline of women leaders by escalating a very qualified group of women cardiologists. And when we say fortify the pipeline of women leaders, it's really, there's a lot of incredibly talented women who are already established, but there's also so many that are up and coming or who have accomplished so many things and who perhaps just aren't quite as visible or aren't aware of one another. So that's why we wanted to create this Escalator Award program. And so, as I just mentioned, the benefits for all of the recipients are targeted funding at various levels, depending on which award category you apply for and are awarded. Access to mentorship. And so that's not only mentorship with kind of amazing field leaders and very established physicians, it's also mentorship with your peers around the world. What's been really interesting to watch as we've gone through, this will now be our third cycle of this program, is to just watch the connection between the award winners develop and how that really turns into a group of women who are trying to lift each other up and lift up the people that they work with and their own networks. And then speaking of networks, networking opportunities. So those have been primarily virtual because of COVID. And our hope is that going into this year, we'll have the opportunity to gather in person again. And for all of our current and previous winners to both meet each other and provide in-person presentations about the work they're doing. And really just have a chance to have some visibility within the world of cardiology. And as we say here, we really hope that by providing that visibility, we want to develop a more equitable workforce for the future. And I think now I'm going to turn it back over to Caroline to tell you a bit more about the 2022 award categories.
Great. Thank you so much, Ali. So as mentioned, in 2022, we have awards in 3 distinct categories. The Research Award is designed for women academic cardiologists who are less than 10 years post-training. The amount for this award is $50,000 and is intended to be used to fund an approved research project. When you apply for a research award, you need to submit a project protocol summary and a budget with your application materials. Our next category is the Mentor Match Awards. These are distributed in pairs and are designed to create a new mentorship pairing between a woman cardiologist who is more than 10 years post-training and a current fellow. Together, the pair will develop a short research project, quality improvement, or educational project. And this is intended to be completed during the 12-month award cycle. So it's something that they develop together and work on over the year. For this award, if you're applying for it, it's helpful to include your areas of clinical interest or even some potential project ideas in the letter of interest that you submit with your application. The amounts for the Mentor Match Award are $25,000 for mentors and $10,000 for mentees. And then we have our newest category for 2022, which is the Kickstarter Awards. We're very excited to be distributing smaller micro grants intended for women cardiologists who are currently practicing in transitional and developing economies. A list of eligible countries for this award is available on our website if you need it. Grants are in the amount of $3,000, and the funds can be put toward clinical needs, research needs, or auxiliary professional needs like protected time. So now that we've talked about our award categories, I'm going to go over the application process step by step. So the first step in the application process is to have a talent directory profile with Women as One. So if you already have a talent directory profile, then you've already done the first step toward applying for the Escalator Awards. But in case you haven't, I'm going to go to our website now and give you kind of a live demonstration of how to do that and then how to apply. So I'm going to do another share here. So if you do not have a talent directory profile, then the first thing you'll want to do is come to our website, which is womenasone.org. At the top, you'll see talent directory. And when you scroll over that, whoops, you'll see that you can click to register. Once you've clicked on the registration page, we'll collect some basic information here, and that will give you a login. I'm already logged in, so it's not going to ask me for the basic information, but it's really just name, email address, and password. And once you've provided that information, you'll have access to our talent directory dashboard. There are many benefits of the talent directory, but what we're most interested in for this webinar is the profile and the Escalator Awards application. So you'll want to complete your Women as One talent directory profile with as much information as possible. And once that's complete, you'll want to go to the 2022 Escalator Awards application on the left-hand side. And this is where you'll put in your application documents. Please note that your documents should be in PDF format with the exception of your project budget, which can be in a spreadsheet format. But all the other documents, including your letter of interest and letters of recommendation, should be PDFs. Okay, so that gives you some information about our application process. I'm going to go ahead and go back to our slides. Okay, so just a quick recap of that information. There are 3 steps to the application process. The first is to complete your talent directory profile. It's really important to put as much information as possible in this profile. So you'll want to include your CV, your headshot. We have a space for a personal statement, as much information as you can provide about your professional background, because this is really the tool that the reviewers will use to assess your application. Then, when you're filling out your Escalator Awards application, make sure that you add the required documents. So research applicants will need to supply a protocol synopsis, not a full protocol, but a synopsis of the protocol, and a budget. Both research and mentor match applicants will need letters of recommendation. You'll need a letter of recommendation from someone inside your current institution and a professional reference from someone outside your current institution. And all applicants need a letter of interest, why you would like to be awarded an Escalator Award, and then proof of good standing with regional licensing boards. The final step is your confirmation email. You will receive an email from us if your application has successfully been submitted. So if you submit an application and you don't get this email, please reach out to us because something may have gone wrong. Okay. Now we're going to take a moment and go over some tips for your application. and some insider information that might help you with the process. So I want to explain a little bit about our review process first. We invite each year a very diverse group of experienced cardiologists, including leaders in the field from around the world, to review the applications in each category. They will assess your application on several criteria, including the strength of your letter of interest, your project idea, and letters of recommendation, if those are included with your award type, and your level of need and readiness for the award in terms of escalation for your career. We also consider representation of a variety of subspecialties and geographic locations among our award winners. So we try to have a really diverse group of award winners as well as reviewers. So a few tips for your application that would apply to everyone, regardless of award category. As mentioned already, be sure to complete your talent directory profile. Add as much information to this as you can, because this provides helpful context for the people who are reviewing your application. Another tip is that the mission of Women is One is to increase gender equity in medicine, and that one of the ways that we can achieve this goal is by elevating more women to positions of leadership, which is really the basis for this award. So consider this when you're applying, and consider including some ideas about how you would use the boost provided by this funding to elevate the careers of other women, and how you might be able to share the message of Women as One with those in your network. How can you spread the word about our efforts? If you can include some information about that with your letter of interest, it's very helpful. And finally, think about what makes your application unique. A personal story adds a little depth to the application, and reviewers will often advocate for a candidate whose story is meaningful to them. A few tips that are specific to the award category. For the research award, provide as much detail as you can in your research protocol synopsis and budget. Make sure that your project is ready to move forward if funding is provided. For the Mentor Match Award, mentees should be as specific as possible about your clinical areas of interest and any ideas that you might have for a collaborative project, and be sure to detail what you hope to gain from this mentorship. For mentor applicants, again, outline your clinical areas of interest to make sure that we find a good match for you, and then provide details about what you feel makes a successful mentor-mentee relationship and how you plan to foster that if you are paired with a mentee. And for Kickstarter Award applicants, provide as much detail as you can in your letter of interest, including describing your current practice, your goals for the future, and how you plan to use the funds provided with the award. Now we'll have some time to answer your questions. I'm going to give Ali a chance to add anything to what we've already talked about so that I can monitor the chat and see if there are any questions in the chat.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, first of all, thank you, Caroline. That was incredibly thorough. Just a reminder, yes, you can go ahead in and use either the chat or the Q&A. We're keeping an eye on both to add your questions in. One thing I would just point out when you're applying that we hope simplifies things for you all is that there is some logic built into the application. So depending on which application you select in that drop-down field, the application upload requirements will automatically change for you. So you should only be prompted to add the things that are required for your application, just so that you don't have to worry about what you need and what you don't. So hopefully that will make that a little bit more streamlined for everyone. And it looks like we have a first question. I don't know if, oh, we have two questions. Great.
Yay.
And I see one that's been a very popular question. So Caroline, yes, if you want to go ahead, go ahead and answer those, and I'll jump in if you need some additional information.
Okay, sounds great. So the question about applying in more than one category is a question that we get quite a bit. We encourage applicants to apply in the category that you feel is the best fit for you. So we can really only take your application in one category. However, our reviewers will consider each application, and one of the criteria that they're thinking about is whether the application would be a better fit for another category. So in the past, we have moved applications from one one category to another. If that happens, we will reach out to the applicant and confirm that they're okay with being considered in another category, but it's definitely something that we're thinking about. But when you do your application, go ahead and apply in the category that you think is the best fit for you. And then someone asked, what is meant by approved research project? Allie, could you speak a little bit more about that?
Sure, yeah. So in the US, that would mean that you've submitted for, I'm blanking on the terminology of it, but that you've submitted it to a governing body, and then it has actually officially been approved to move forward. I realize I just used the definition and the word in the definition, but it's an officially approved within your institution, or within kind of your workspace to move forward. And I am going to figure out what the specific terminology is there, and I'll provide it to the group in a moment, or follow up via email, because I do want to get that answer properly correct for you.
Okay, great. I did see a question about if I've applied in a previous year, can I apply again? Absolutely, and we encourage that. Actually, in 2021, 6 of the award winners for the 2021 cycle were applicants from the previous cycle. So it's definitely something that is fine to do, and we encourage that in your application. Just monitoring the questions. Let's see. Can we give some examples of successful projects for the Mentor Match Award and explain how the mentorship is supposed to work between a mentor and mentee in different countries? So 2021 was the first year that we did Mentor Match Awards. So we're kind of seeing those projects evolve throughout this year. We've seen a variety of different projects based on kind of the areas of clinical interest of the mentor and mentee, but we've seen some research projects analyzing databases to come up with some recommendations for moving forward clinically. And then we've seen a project based a little bit more on mentorship and trying to create a mentorship toolkit to encourage other mentorships in the future. And then we've seen just kind of some quality improvement papers written as well between the two, the mentor and the mentee. So editorials published in journals and that kind of thing. So it's really fairly open. As far as working together in different countries, I guess one of the beautiful things about 2020 is that it opened us up to virtual meetings and Zoom. So we think that our mentors and mentees are primarily meeting virtually for now. We're hoping to be able to connect them live and in person, as that becomes more possible in 2022 and beyond.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I would say our mentors and mentees, just to clarify one thing first, is that mentors and mentees apply separately and we pair them as opposed to an existing pair applying together. And all of our mentors and mentees are across the world, and we have seen it working very successfully. And then just to add to one of the other projects that we've seen done this year, in addition to what Caroline mentioned, we also have a pair that has developed an actual educational unit, and they're using their funds and adding them into some additional funds to provide scholarships to women who apply to go through the program that they've developed. So there's really many ways to come at the projects. I think it really depends on your interest area and what you feel is feasible to accomplish within a roughly 12-month period.
And I do want to clarify one thing that we spoke about earlier. Someone asked, can someone who already received the award last year apply for another category in the future? And I think that given that we want to distribute these to as wide a network as possible, previous award winners would probably not be encouraged to apply again. But if you've previously applied and not been selected for an award, then you're encouraged to apply again in another cycle.
Yep.
Allie, we have a question about a male principal investigator, if that would prevent your research from being selected. I don't think so at all. No.
Absolutely not. No, of course not. No. I mean, I think one thing about our organization is that we obviously understand that this is, we're working in medicine, or you're working in medicine where men and women coexist. And we think it's really important actually to have buy-in from men as well as women. So certainly that's not a disqualifier in any way.
A question is asked about the research award. Do we wish to have a lengthy and detailed protocol? No, but thank you for asking. We wish to have a protocol summary. So we need to get enough detail to understand the purpose of the project and to understand that it is feasible to move forward if the funding is provided, but you don't have to provide the full protocol. A summary is fine. Let's see what other questions we have. Just one second.
And
Are
I'm
we
actually
looking
gonna
mainly for projects? Oh, sorry, Allie, go ahead.
No, that's okay. You go ahead.
Are we looking mainly for projects that look at women's cardiovascular health for either the research award or the mentor match award? I think it's really a variety of projects, and that's one of the things that we're considering is the variety of research focus as well as subspecialty. So I don't think that we're looking for projects that focus on women's health. We do have some of those in the current cycle, but I think any research project being performed by a woman cardiologist is eligible under this award.
Yeah, that's correct. And I just wanted to return to the previous question about approved. The terminology in the US is IRB, which I believe stands for Internal Review Board. So in the US at least, and I believe that this exists globally or some sort of equivalent, an idea or a protocol is sent to this internal review board. There's kind of a back and forth period in which the protocol and the milestones and the budget are discussed and reviewed, and then that review board approves the project. So that's what we're looking for in terms of an approved research project, something that's already gone through that process and has kind of worked out the kinks and the questions, and the definition of the project has already, and the scope of the project has been determined and defined.
Okay, and then we have a question about whether it's better to apply to be matched with a mentor with a definite project idea in mind. I think that can be very open. It's helpful to have some idea for what kind of project you would want to complete, or certainly your areas of clinical interest are very helpful as we're trying to make a good and successful match for mentorship. But it is a good idea to remain somewhat open to that, depending on the match that you're ultimately paired with, and you want to develop that project together if possible.
I will say though that as our reviewers are going through the review process, it's extremely helpful to the reviewers to be able to pair people if they can see some sort of clear alignment between two people. So whether that is geographic or more importantly, project goals, that's really helpful. So flexibility is definitely important, but also providing the reviewers with some sort of criteria on which to pair people is helpful.
Okay, we have a question about word limit for the project protocol. I don't think we have a defined word limit for the project protocol. Just try to summarize as much as possible while still providing enough detail for us to understand the project. So I realize that's a big ask, but yeah, it's helpful just to provide a synopsis. Then we have a question in the research category. What is the timeline for the research to end? Allie, can you speak to that a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, we don't have a fixed endpoint. So for the mentor match, we do try to have the work of the pair take place during the award cycle, but the research can go far beyond the award year because we understand that research projects are usually not 12 months and they certainly don't align with our award cycle. So the funding is more intended to support the work that you're doing with the expectation that you keep us in the loop and the hope that you keep us in the loop so that when the project is completed and the research is completed and there's hopefully some publications that come from that, we can follow along and continue to promote the work that you've done once it's ready, but no fixed timeline there.
Okay, and then some more questions about the review board. There's not a review board in the UK. I know that we have at least one UK winner in our past winners, I think. So I think that, I don't know, Allie, I'm not sure what to.
That might be a more of a specific question. I'm just looking at who asked that. Oh, okay. I will follow up with that offline because I don't know, but I agree with you, Caroline. We've had winners in the past. I think if essentially if your research has been given the green light to move forward in your respective country, if there isn't a board per se, but you're moving forward, then that is acceptable to us. But we do try to be very respectful and understanding that each country has a very different framework for reviewing research and actually moving it forward. And that's certainly something that you can include in your letter of interest if you feel it's helpful. Just giving us, again, giving all of us, the reviewers and the staff at Women as One, context to understand where you're coming from and where you're trying to go. And then we certainly take that into account when we're reviewing the applications.
Sounds good. And then I did miss one. I apologize. How strict is the criteria for 10 years as a mentor? I think that we would probably consider clinical background and some other factors in terms of experience when selecting mentors. So if you have a strong interest in becoming a mentor and haven't been, 10 years post-training, certainly you can apply in that category. And if we feel that you might be a better fit for a different category, again, we would reach out and let you know. But I think that it's going to really depend on individual factors there.
Yeah. And it, of course, also depends on who the other candidates are and how many applications we receive. So certainly make your case, and we are open to considering it if you feel that that's a good match for you.
Okay, I think we've covered a lot of the questions. See if we have a few more. Sometimes we are asked what is proof of good standing, and I think that is written confirmation that you have complied with regional medical licensing or board requirements. So some kind of written confirmation as applies in your region. We did speak about established mentorship pairs applying together. The intent is for us to create a new mentorship pairing and try to expand networks. So we're going to do the pairings of 2 women at different institutions for this particular award. Let's see what else we have here. Can the funds be used for an existing project for a research award? So if something is already moving forward, can you apply for funding? Yes, that is possible, but we need a clear explanation in your letter of interest or protocol synopsis for why the additional funding would be beneficial to this project. And then we've answered the question about applying in more than one category. What information needs to be included in the letter of interest is a question that we get a lot. And does this vary by the award category? So Allie, could you speak a little bit about that?
Sure. So I think globally, the letter of interest, as Caroline already said, should give us context for understanding kind of where you are, what's your story, how do you feel that this award can move your career forward, and how do you feel that you can pay it forward? But in terms of specifics for each category, with the review or with the research award, since you are uploading a summary of your protocol, we will have that as well as your budget. So I think it's, a brief explanation of your research is helpful, but we will have that in the supporting documents. I think where the letter of interest becomes much more critical is actually in the Kickstarter award, because that's really the only document that we've asked those applicants to upload. And so again, it's really helpful for us to understand, what do you want to use this opportunity to do, and where do you want to go? Where do you see yourself going with it immediately, and then, in the future? So whatever you feel is appropriate, however you feel that you need to use those funds, that category has been left almost intentionally vague in terms of how we feel the funds should be used, because we really do leave it up to you. We know that in different countries, there's many different things that are of greatest need personally and professionally for development. So the more you can clarify that in that letter of interest in the Kickstarter award, the better. And I think it's already been well covered for the mentor match category. It's extremely helpful to understand what you hope to achieve and what potential project ideas or areas of clinical interest or non-clinical potentially as well, but what are you interested in doing it for 12 months so that we can find the right person to match you with.
Oh, sorry, I missed another question. Can the research funding be used for funding a research fellow salary to undertake an approved project? So if that's the only thing that they're using the research funding for, is that okay? Allie, I think that is okay, but I just want to confirm.
It is, yes, it is okay. Yes, it's okay as long as, again, we understand within the context of what you're doing, how that's essential to what you're doing. But yes, it is okay.
Okay.
And one important thing I should note as well, and this is included on the website, but the funding that you receive goes to your institution and then it gets distributed to you so it's not a direct, wire transfer to your personal bank account. It goes into your institutional funding and then you draw down on it based on the processes in place at your institutions.
Great. And then just a quick clarification of the documents that are needed for each award type. So just to clarify, research and mentor match applicants are required to have the recommendation letters along with a letter of interest. Kickstarter award applicants are just asked to provide a letter of interest and proof of good standing. For the recommendation letters for research and mentor match applicants, we're asking for two, one from someone inside your institution and then a professional reference from someone outside of your institution. Research applicants should also provide the protocol synopsis and budget as mentioned. The mentor match applicants can just kind of detail project ideas within the letter of interest. I think that's all of the questions in the chat. Oh, I see one more. Okay, the letter of recommendation from someone outside of your institution, is that meant to be someone that you've worked with before? So that should be a professional reference. I think that it's acceptable for it to be someone from your educational background or someone that you've worked with before professionally. So someone that you know from training or someone who was at your previous institution. Can we remind when applications are due? Yes, applications are due October 1st. So that's very important.
Mm-hmm. And then so they're due the 1st, and then we go into a very lengthy and thorough review period. We do want to have enough time in order to consider all of the applications and give them the time that they deserve, because we know how much time you guys are putting into putting these together. And once they're reviewed, the finalists will be notified, and our kind of top group will be asked to participate in a video interview with some of our reviewers, and then we'll make final decisions from there. And I failed to touch on this at the beginning of the call when I was discussing the mentorship aspect of the award, but I did just want to state for the group that there is some formal scheduled mentorship with each of the groups. Currently, each of our award category groups meet on a quarterly basis via Zoom, and essentially everyone comes to the table and shares where they are in their project and kind of their next milestone and their roadblocks. And the people who participate in that are not only the winners in that category, but then also some of our reviewers, some of our awards committee members. And it's a really great opportunity to kind of work through some challenges and things like that. So I just wanted to make that note about the award benefits there.
So we have a question of whether we will receive the review of the application if you don't receive the award this year. So like application feedback. We have not provided application feedback in the past. We do get a large number of applications and from a large number of super qualified individuals. So if you don't receive the award this year, we would encourage you to reapply in future years. But it really just means that we had an overwhelming number of qualified applicants, and it's a great problem to have. But yeah, unfortunately, we can't give an unlimited number of awards. We would love to give everyone funding for their projects.
Yep.
Just not possible with this particular program. I think that might be all the questions. We can give a couple more minutes in case anyone is frantically typing into the chat. Yeah, just a quick reminder, as Ali mentioned, about our process. So applications are due October 1st, and then we will be reviewing them for a while. And as Ali mentioned, we will contact finalists for video interviews. And those video interviews will be with our reviewers. And you'll be asked about your project and how you will participate in the program with Women as One. So you should be prepared to answer questions about that. Sorry, just looking at the chat. And then winners will be announced at the beginning of December. And the official 2022 Escalator Awards cycle will begin January 1st, 2022 and continue throughout the year. And then throughout the year, we will have opportunities, as Ali said, to gather with mentors in the field and kind of talk about the projects and your current status. And then you'll be expected to provide quarterly updates on how things are going, and also hopefully to spread the word about Women as One and our work within your networks. So if we've answered all your questions, I think we're going to go ahead and close out today's session. If you think of any other questions or you need help with a specific query, please feel free to reach out. Our email addresses are all on this page on your screen. I would be the primary point of contact for this program, so please reach out to me with any questions that you have. Oh, we got one more last minute. The Mentor Match Award budget goes to the institution as well. Yes, all of the awards will be provided to the institution, and then you would work with your institution to draw down on those funds for your project.
And we realize that there are sometimes that's a challenging thing to move the money and then to obtain the money. So we have a lot of experience in ensuring that you do get your funds. And that they get to the right person in a mostly timely manner. But if that's an area of concern for you, please also let us know, and we will not send money to the wrong person or the wrong place. We want to make sure that that's obviously we get that right.
Exactly. So I hope that we've been able to answer some of your questions today. Again, please reach out to us at any time if you need more information. And Ali, anything else that you want to say before we close out for today?
No, just thank you all so much for your interest and for making the time to participate in this today. And yes, if there's still any open questions and anything that can be clarified more, please do reach out because we want to support you as you apply for this award. And we wish you all the best of luck.